There are places on this planet that vanish without a sound. No explosions, no warnings, just a quiet erasure, as if the world simply decides one day that they were never there. This is the story of one such place. An island that appeared on maps for nearly a century on then. One day, it didn't. In the early 20th century, sailors navigating the South Pacific spoke often of a tiny speck of land known as Eridani Island. You wouldn't find it in travel guides or postcards. It wasn't a paradise of beaches or coconuts. It was, by all accounts, an ordinary patch of rock and greenery, roughly the size of a small village. But it was home. A few dozen families lived there: fishermen, traders, children who played by the tide pool sand, built sand towers that the sea erased by nightfall. To the rest of the world, it was a dot between coordinates, but to them, it was everything. And then, in the 1960s, that dot disappeared. It began quietly. A British naval ship passed through the region on a routine survey. When their instruments showed no land where the map said there should be, they assumed a navigation error. They circled again. Nothing. Just open water, deep and cold. The sailors filed a report. The cartographers double-checked. The maps were reprinted. And just like that, Eridani Island was gone. Not sunk. Not renamed. Gone. Even stranger, not a single person from the island was ever found. For decades, that absence became an odd footnote in maritime records. A curiosity for map collectors. A ghost story for sailors. But for one researcher, it became an obsession. Dr. Miriam Clark stumbled across Eridani's name while studying colonial mapping archives. She noticed something strange. The island's coordinates had shifted over time. Each decade, the recorded position moved a few miles west, like a shadow following something unseen. In her words,
as if the island was never fixed in place. Almost like it didn't want to be found.
To understand how bizarre this is, you have to know one thing about cartography. When maps were drawn before GPS, islands often appeared because someone said they existed. A ship captain might note a reef or a distant shore. Later, another expedition would confirm it or fail to. But Eridani wasn't one of those phantom isles born of error. It appeared consistently from as early as 1897, across French, British, and Japanese records. And more importantly, it was inhabited. There were census entries, shipping manifests, letters sent to and from the island, small, faded envelopes marked with postmarks that simply read Eridani Station. You can still find a few in private collections today. But after 1961, the trail ends. No letters, no names, no descendants. It's as if an entire community stepped off the edge of the world. In 2007, a team of oceanographers decided to test the myth once and for all. They sailed to the coordinates listed on the last known map of Eridani. The sea was calm. The instruments were flawless. And beneath them, the ocean floor dropped almost 5,000 meters deep. If the island had sunk, it wasn't recent. It would have taken millennia for that kind of geological change. So the team kept searching, scanning nearby regions for anomalies. That's when they found something. A faint ridge, nearly 30 miles east of where Eridani was last recorded. Covered in coral, lifeless, and silent. But there were shapes, not natural ones. Rectangular formations, like foundations. A grid, faint but unmistakable. What they found wasn't proof of an island that vanished overnight. It was proof that something was there, something human. And that's where the questions begin to multiply. Because how does a place, a people, an entire home, disappear without anyone noticing? There were no reports of earthquakes, no volcanic activity, no distress signals. So what happened? Some scientists propose a simple explanation, that Eridani was never an island at all but a massive floating pumice raft, formed from a volcanic eruption, which over decades became colonized by plants, birds, and even settlers who mistook it for solid ground. If true, that means the island literally drifted until it dissolved back into the sea. An extraordinary idea, but not impossible. Others disagree. Satellite scans show magnetic irregularities in the region, a sign of either ancient volcanic activity or something more. Conspiracy theorists claim the island was intentionally erased. During the Cold War, several nations conducted secret nuclear tests in the Pacific. Could Eridani have been collateral or cover? In one declassified naval log, there's a single cryptic note from 1962. Test Zone 47 local population evacuated. No re-entry permitted, but no map shows what Zone 47 referred to. No files confirm an evacuation. Only that, within a year, every chartmaker had erased Eridani's name. Dr. Clark found one more clue. A letter dated March 1961, sent from an island trader to a merchant in Suva, Fiji. It reads, "The sea has been strange these weeks. The birds are gone. The wind sounds wrong. We see lights at night beyond the reef, but no ships come." That was the last letter ever sent from Eridani. Maybe what haunts us about this story isn't the mystery itself. Maybe it's the idea that something can exist so fully with lives, laughter, love, and then vanish so completely that the world forgets it was ever real. In every era, humanity has lost pieces of itself to silence. Whole villages swallowed by the sea. Languages that no one speaks anymore. Faces and photographs whose names we can't recall. Eridani is a mirror of that loss. A reminder that memory, like land, can erode quietly, invisibly, until only stories remain. In 2013, a group of environmental researchers revisited the area after a rare undersea quake. This time, their sonar readings showed something new. A faint rise beneath the waves. Not enough to break the surface, but a nod proved the seafloor had shifted. When they dropped a camera, the feed showed what looked like coral-covered stone, and in one frame shape that still sparks debate. A small, rusted bell tangled in seaweed. Barely visible letters across its curve, airy, then the rest buried in coral. It could be coincidence, or it could be the last relic of a place the world erased. Today, Eridani Island doesn't exist on Google Maps. Type it in, and you'll get nothing, not even a satellite glitch. But old sailors, those who remember stories passed down from their fathers, still speak of a place where the horizon hums differently. Where compasses spin for a moment before settling. Where, on quiet nights, if you listen close enough, you can hear the faint sound of waves breaking on a shore that isn't there anymore. When you think about it, maps aren't just tools for navigation. They're mirrors of belief, snapshots of what humanity thinks it knows. And sometimes, when something disappears from a map, it isn't because it's gone. It's because we stopped believing it existed. Maybe Eridani was real. Maybe it was never meant to be found. Maybe it lives somewhere between history and imagination. A whisper of what the ocean remembers. But here's the truth. Somewhere beneath the Pacific, buried in miles of water and silence, lies proof that we once drew a dot on the world and called it home. And so, if you ever look at a map and see nothing but blue, remember this. The ocean has its secrets, and sometimes, it keeps them better than we keep each other.